I'm Jenni Carlson.
I'm Barry Trammell. Welcome to the Jenni and Berry Show.
The Thunder has taken a 3-0 lead in its Western Conference playoff series with the Pelicans, and you know the history. Every NBA team that's taken a 3-0 lead has won the series.
It sure looks like the Thunder is headed toward victory, and fast. After a resounding 106-85 win Saturday, the Thunder can wrap things up Monday. We'll talk about that and much more.
But first, we want to say thanks to these sponsors for supporting the Jenni and Berry Show. MidFirst Bank, Two Fellas Movers, the Oklahoma Ford Dealers Association. Drive into your best in Oklahoma Ford dealers today for the best deals on Ford's full lineup of trucks and SUVs. Ford is the best in Oklahoma. And hey, if you haven't subscribed to our show, please do so on YouTube. It helps us to help you, so hit that subscribe button, and it will make a big difference to us. All right, Barry. Thunder wins Game 3 down in New Orleans. Road win, a first true road victory in the playoffs for the Thunder since 2016. Boy, they left no doubt. This young team going on the road, they were really sharp from the get-go. What was the difference in your mind Saturday in New Orleans?
Well, I just thought it was the defense, crazy good again. You know, the Thunder offense was solid, 106 points. Good shooting, 47% three-point shooting, but it was that defense that just shut down New Orleans with just constant takeaways, rim protection, elite by Chet Holmgren. Even Lou Dort was Lou Dort, of course, but even Santa Clara Williams hurt in the first 10 seconds of the game. He goes out and sits out most of the first quarter, and yet Cason Wallace comes in and plays for Santa Clara, plays great, shut down defense. By the third quarter, the Pelicans looked defeated and just demoralized and without a clue on where to go from here.
Yeah, it really felt like that we saw the end of the Pelicans' hopes and dreams of, winning this playoff series. You just seemed to be able to see the energy leaking out of that team, even to the point that, some of the drives that the Thunder was getting to the rim on, you just kind of looked at it and thought, if the Pelicans were still feeling good about their chances, the Thunder doesn't get to the rim like that. But we started to see SGA, Jalen Williams, different guys being able to get to the rim with, not relative ease. I think that's probably overstating it, but definitely being able to get there and get better looks than we'd seen maybe in the first 2+ games of this series. Definitely into the second half on Saturday, you just saw that energy dropping with the Pelicans. So yeah, it really feels like it's only a matter of time before this one's over. And Barry, you mentioned Jalen Williams getting hurt early. I thought we might be seeing the first sort of adverse moment for the Thunder. We didn't know what would happen. He got hit in the side of the face by Brandon Ingram. Looked like he was holding his eye almost immediately. He came back in, but, that's one of those moments you wrote about, the fact that the Pelicans are without Zion Williamson, obviously a huge loss for them. But adversity befalls teams in the NBA playoffs, and the Thunder has yet to have much. But that was, I thought, a pretty telling moment when Cason Wallace was able to come in and play as well as he did.
Yeah, the Thunder outscores the Pelicans 23-19. Had a bigger lead than that. I think it was a 7-point lead at one point in the first quarter. So just did a really good job of putting their foot down. We are all amazed at Jalen Williams' offensive skill set, his shooting, his driving, his ability to score in the paint. But he's a wonderful defender too. I mean, some of the national media guys have just been raving about his ability to be a sidekick to Lou Dort and to be able to put in a rookie like Cason Wallace and really not drop off defensively. I mean, Wallace took the assignment on C.J. McCollum. McCollum had a very poor first quarter. I mean, I can't remember what he did. He was he had 5 points. So you'll live with that, with your star wing out. So good, just excellent performance, I thought, by Cason Wallace. I think he scored 5 points, I think, in the first quarter himself. When the offense wasn't great, he hit a corner three, hit a jumper in the lane. So the Thunder's a deeper team and a better team, a more skilled team, maybe even a more determined team than New Orleans. And I thought that was really, really prevalent today with what we saw, even when the Thunder had to go to the bench.
Yeah, and they even played a little bit of zone defense early in the game. I didn't love it, I'll be honest with you, Barry, but because what that meant was it meant that Lou Dort wasn't on Brandon Ingram 100% of the time, because as long as he is in a man-to-man defense situation, he's not losing Brandon Ingram. I mean, he was with Brandon Ingram basically whenever he stepped on the court, there was Lou Dort. I mean, he's just been beside him and with him the entire series. So I didn't love when they played zone and that meant somebody else might guard Brandon Ingram. We saw him maybe get some shots in that zone, or there were some switching today. Not much, but a few times when he did find himself guarded by somebody other than Lou Dort, and he took advantage of it. It seemed like any chance he got, but he didn't get many of those chances. Dort was great again, and I thought Dort was fantastic offensively. Not a ton of shots, but he hits 4 of 8 3-pointers and hit a couple back-to-back in the second quarter that helped turn a 1-point Thunder lead into a 10-point Thunder lead. I thought that was a really huge swing. He steps into one coming in, down the court, hits it, and then the next possession, he gets a corner three. Pelicans take timeout, and we really never saw them threaten the Thunder again.
Yeah, and he actually followed that after the timeout with a wing three. So the offense for the Thunder wasn't great all day, but it came big in spurts. The Dort 3-pointers where they took control of the game. And then Santa Clara has that stretch early in the, I think it's early in the quarter.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, where was that? Yeah, where he just is hitting all kinds of funky shots and sort of taking control of the game. So it was not a pristine offensive performance, but the Thunder got what New Orleans has yet to get, which is an explosion, a stretch of high production in a short amount of time. And of course, Shea is always good for some dynamite himself. So Thunder's very hard to deal with when they get a couple of those stretches. 10 points. I think it's 14 straight they scored on New Orleans. So they're going to be very difficult to beat if they're getting those, and you're not, because you're not going to get sustained offense, where you're scoring every other trip down. You're going to have a lot of voids, and we saw a bunch today against by the Pelicans.
Yeah, and you mentioned those guys that were good offensively, and you got to add Josh Giddey into that mix too. I thought Giddey was as good as we've seen him play, and definitely in the playoffs, and maybe even back into the regular season for a stretch. He didn't play the last 10 minutes of game one. I can't remember where he came out in game two. That was more of a blowout, obviously, so not maybe as telling. But when the Thunder was in a tight game in game one, he didn't play the last 10 minutes of the game, but he definitely, kept himself ready, hasn't gotten discouraged, maybe discouraged, but he hasn't let it affect him negatively necessarily. So I thought it was a good sign to see him, see some shots go down, get to the rim some. He's not going to have a big explosion, I don't think, like Jalen Williams, like Shea, like those two guys could have. But if he can get you 12, 15 points, something like that on a regular basis, or even, every third game or so. I mean, I think that's a pretty big number that could help the Thunder. So I thought that was a really positive sign for the Thunder as well.
Yeah, I did too. Giddey has been sort of disappeared a little bit, but he made the threes tonight. He also was pretty forceful in driving the ball. Now, I thought the Thunder committed too many turnovers. Giddey had 3, Shea had 3, Santa Clara had 3, Aaron Wiggins had 4. I mean, that's too much. They shouldn't be turning the ball over that much. But they were forceful with it, and they did attack. And they did let New Orleans know that, hey, we're coming. And that aggression, I think, helped set some of the tone for the game and led to some kickouts for the open threes, and the Thunder made 17 to 36.
Yeah.
So, after the game, if the Thunder's going to win the 3-point game against you, you got to figure out if you're New Orleans, where are we going to make that up? And the answer is they're not going to. They're not going to do it on the backboards, even though that was a good sign early. It wasn't necessarily today. Valanciunas plays just 11 minutes, played 12 minutes the whole dang game. They gave up, didn't go with him in the second half. I think that was just to try to play better defense and stretch the floor some.
Yeah.
But to me, it was ineffective. Didn't really work, and they gave up. They gave up their advantage. I mean, the one advantage New Orleans has, and we've seen it game one clearly, and we saw it early in game two, is the force inside with Valanciunas, and they basically waved the white flag on that one. Chet Holmgren, if the Pelicans want to say, hey, no Valanciunas, Chet Holmgren says thank you very much and sends them a bouquet of flowers.
Well, he sends them a bouquet of flowers or a few rejected shots. You mentioned him earlier, Barry. We need to talk about him. First rookie to have 10 blocks in the playoffs, I believe, was the stat that they threw around today, which I think he's only going to add to that. I don't know how high that number is going to climb, but he had a couple of, looked like he could have blocked him with his, practically under his arm the way he blocked him. I mean, just doing stuff as a rookie defensively that you don't really expect to see out of young guys. And I know that the national TV broadcast made reference to the fact that, when he came into the league with his build, a lot of people question, obviously we did it here, but happened nationally as well, questioning his durability. How would he stand up to the rigors of the NBA? He's not gotten much bigger, but he's definitely got that toughness and he's standing up. I thought that was, to me, games like that for him, for Lou Dort, for Jalen Williams. I mean, games like this, Barry, make the national audience sit up and take notice of the Thunder. People already know about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Now, he's definitely making bigger and bigger fans in these playoffs. But what we saw today, games like today, to me, they help Lou Dort's case to be all defense at some point.
Right.
And some point soon. Chet Holmgren the same way. I mean, the value of Jalen Williams, the star of Jalen Williams, those are the type of things you see increase with the game like we saw today out of the Thunder.
Yeah, and you have people like Charles Barkley or Kevin Harlan, Reggie Miller, whoever it might be, talking about Lou Dort, and Lou's got the national acclaim from players.
Yeah,
he's third on that athletic list of the NBA's best defenders. He finished third in the voting, but he rarely, he's not really expected to make all NBA defense, first team or second team. And I think you got to make that reputation in the playoffs. He's doing that now. The last time anybody saw him in games that really mattered, back to back, was the Orlando bubble when people had other things on their mind. So, and that was 4 years ago. So, we're talking about a guy whose esteem is rising. A player like Shai, a sort of a novelty, like not a novelty, but a novel player like Chet Holmgren, a clear rising star like Santa Clara. Those guys, the news spreads, but a guy like Lou Dort, it's not as easy. A guy like Aaron Wiggins, coming off the bench, most of America still doesn't know who he is. So, Cason Wallace today, 90% of NBA fans said, "Oh yeah, wasn't that the guy from the Kentucky? Wonder how he's been playing." Nobody knows, but they start knowing when it gets to the playoffs. That's where the spotlight is.
Okay, after game two, we touched on the idea, could this be a sweep for the Thunder? We said it seemed possible, but obviously you got to go on the road with an inexperienced playoff team and see what happens. Well, we saw what happens. I don't think this series comes back to Oklahoma City, Barry. I think the Thunder's wrapping it up on Monday.
Yeah, when you see, it's one thing to get down 3-0, but to get down 3-0 and get routed 2 straight games, especially at home. You lose by 32 in OKC, lose by 21 today. Could have been worse. Thunder was up 24 was the biggest lead, I think. I can't remember. But dominated, most of the game. It's hard to get that. It's hard to find that resolve to keep going strong, to keep moving forward. And, just looking at the Pelicans' body language, just looking at watching them on the post-game podium, just watching the way the whole thing's developing, they really don't seem to have an answer to how to match the Thunder, not just schematically, not just with their play, but even emotionally, they look like they're overmatched. So I think the Thunder probably wins it on Monday night.
I don't know if you got a chance to see Charles Barkley in the post game, but he said instead of sending him to Cancun, they only deserve to go to Galveston.
Yeah, I thought that was not a great thing for the Galveston Chamber of Commerce.
No, it was not.
I've actually not been to Galveston or the Bay in Galveston since the year of our Lord 1971. I don't remember much about it. Haven't heard great things, since then. It's the closest ocean to us, sitting here in central Oklahoma.
It's true.
But I do think it's a little bit of a pot shot at the Pelicans. We have to admit the Pelicans are playing without their top player.
Yeah.
Zion Williamson.
I'll say CJ McCollum. I mean, that guy is playing hard. Trey Murphy, Murphy. Sorry, my brain just shut down. I mean, they've got guys that are doing probably the best they can, but yeah, when Zion's out, then the pecking order goes up, and what you got to do goes up, and they're not equipped to handle those elevated roles, I don't think.
Yeah, and the only thing about Zion is this. They are missing him, but you know what? They miss him more often than they don't miss him. I mean, he's missed more games than he's played in 5 NBA seasons. So it's not like, all of a sudden, Cal Ripken's not playing for the Orioles, if you know what I mean. So, but that's, but the Pelicans are not an extremely good offensive team without Zion. He played 70 games this year. They put up some decent numbers without him, but they mostly played with him this year. He would cause the Thunder all kinds of problems. Without him, they don't have to worry about that. So the defense can get into sick'em mode and attack mode, and Holmgren at the rim. It's easier to block, Trey Murphy or C.J. McCollum or whoever than Zion Williamson, who lower that shoulder and stick it into a Holmgren, and Holmgren may go into the second row.
Yeah.
So it's a good break for the Thunder that Zion's not playing. On the other hand, he often doesn't play. So that's really not an excuse for New Orleans.
Well, we'll have Game 4 on Monday. Time as we're here recording has not been announced yet, but I know it will be soon. So we'll have lots more coverage of the Thunder as their playoff series against the Pelicans continues, but that's all the time we've got right now. We've got all sorts of Thunder content at selloutcrowd.com, and you can find our columns, videos, and podcasts there, as well as on our mobile app. Download that app today. If you want our content sent straight to your inbox, just sign up for our newsletters. It's free and it's easy. Just head to selloutcrowd.com and opt in. If this happens to be your first time hearing or watching us, be sure to subscribe to our show on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. And if you like what you hear, please leave us a review. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.